the situation in Ukraine in our thoughts and prayers. As you know, our civic service took place on Sunday. We were blessed with glorious spring weather and it was a lovely occasion. I want to thank St Andrew's Church, Deputy Lieutenant Ruth Bell, the British Legion Standard Bearers, Biggleswade Choral Society and the organist Justin Waters. Special thanks to our members of staff who supported the event so well. And we've received many plaudits from those who attended. And I'm delighted to say that the collection raised £408 for Sue Ryder St John's Hospice in Moggahanger. And finally, a quick update on the neighbourhood plan. From a choice of 3, we've now identified a planning inspector to take forward the examination of our neighbourhood plan. The Regulation 16 consultation ends on the 28th of March, next Monday, and Central Bedfordshire expect to have the responses and all other documents ready for the inspector shortly afterwards. If all goes smoothly, we should know the inspector's findings by mid-May, and if the inspector so recommends, Central Bedfordshire will then identify a suitable date for the referendum. I now move on to public open session. Do we have any members of the public? I'm seeing 2 possible members of the public. If members of the public wish to speak, would they raise their electronic hands, please? Selina Bailey, would you like to speak?
Hi, can you hear me okay? Hello?
Are you on mute? We can't hear you.
I don't know if
Miss
you can
Bailey,
hear me.
are you on mute?
Can you hear me now? It's saying that I'm...
We might have a problem our end. We're trying to put it right.
Hello? 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 Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I wonder if you can hear me.
We can now, Miss Bailey, thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Hello. Sorry, this is my first time attending one of these, so I'm not really sure how this all works. My question is, I was reading recently on Facebook a post by Dr. Whitaker, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And one of the things that she raised was that there was going to be £25,000 spent on a new sound system.
I'm sorry, Miss Bailey, but I should have said in the introduction, this public open session is pertaining to items that are on the agenda.
Sorry, I was unable to see the agenda.
Okay.
For some reason it wouldn't work, sorry.
Well, there's a public open session at the end of the meeting where you can raise that point if you want to.
Fab, I'll do that.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else wanting to speak. So I'm going to move on. We don't have an invited speaker. So we're on to members' questions. Do we have any members' questions, please? I'm not seeing anybody indicating, so I'm going to go on to the minutes of our last meeting. So this was the meeting on the 8th of March, and the minutes start on page 5 of the pack. So I'm going through for any errors. So page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, I'm looking because I don't seem to have the last page of the minutes in front of me. Have you got? Yeah.
It's
okay,
on page
thank you.
16.
I've got 11, but I've only got down to item 14 and the first item. I thought there was another item after that.
There is. It's on page 16. It looks like there's some sort of printing error.
Ah, right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I've got it in front of me now. So any corrections on pages 11 or 16? No? Okay, so may I sign them as a correct record, please? Thank you very much. And then we have the minutes of the Biggleswade Joint Committee. These are for noting, but would Councillor Foster like to say anything about them?
Yeah, I'm happy with the minutes. I think to be fair, you chaired that particular meeting. I was there in attendance in the via Zoom, but I think from what I could see, the minutes are fine. And no additional comments from my behalf.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on these minutes? Councillor Fage?
Only on the marketplace workshop. I mean, obviously there's quite a lot discussed at BJC, but the idea of actually getting highways officers and place shaping officers actually around the table to start to talk about the future of the town centre. We have an item on this agenda of our town council this evening to do with east-west connectivity, which obviously feeds into the wider place shaping agenda of this council, which we are looking to press on with. I hope that we can have that marketplace workshop rather sooner rather than later, or the horse will have bolted, I fear.
Well, that particular workshop on that date was cancelled at the last minute, and we're still trying to get another date, but we will hope to do that. It's quite important that we do look at that. Is there anything else on the joint committee minutes? No? Okay, thank you. So back to our minutes, and I'm now looking at matters arising. So anything on page 5? Page 6? Page 7? Page 8? Page 8, Councillor Fage.
Page 8, item 8A, under matters arising around the litter picking initiative. I mean, I've been in touch with staff, but it feels like everything's sort of ground to a halt on this. I may have missed something. I may have missed an email. Forgive me if I have. Sorry. But I mean, we're looking at the purchase of some litter pickers for about £100. Is this something we could just press on with, and then finding a way of keeping a track of them when we engage the initiative? This shouldn't be that tricky.
I hear what you're saying, but it was a bit wider than that, wasn't it? It was how to dispose of the litter when it's picked. So I think there does need to be a meeting at some point. Can you sort that with, I think Karen Saunders was working on it. When she's off ill at the moment, but hopefully we can sort it when she's back. Go on, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, we've met with the lady in question as well around the sort of Adopt a Street initiative, and also the wider Great British Spring Clean initiative as well, which we're working on in terms of trying to find some actual dates, which we will actually abide with the national dates. So that's kind of for the bigger picture. In terms of the actual equipment itself, I'm reminded by colleagues that we need to always maintain a certain minimum number of actual litter picker devices, if you like, in stock at every one time for our own events. That said, we can obviously look into stretching and finding some additional funding to purchase a few more. I think that should be possible, certainly, and it will be very timely as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm moving on. Anything else on page 8? Page 9? Page 10? Page 11? Or page 16? Thank you. So we're on to items for consideration. And the reason this was put on the agenda was to note the letter from Nick Vose, who represents the applicant on this planning application, to say that Section 106 is not applicable to this kind of infrastructure project. The application went to Development Management Committee on the 16th of March, and unfortunately the committee ignored our requests in the letter for the conditions to be put on the planning application. So the application went through as per the officer's recommendation without the, sorry, I've lost the word, the condition for the footpath to become a bridle way and for no more overhead cables. So that was ignored by Development Management. I don't think there's anything else to say about that item. I think we all know where we are now. Queen's Jubilee events. You're giving an update, Mr. Hosseini, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first off, I'd like to say we've thanks to councillors for leaning in on this topic, and also to officers for doing quite a lot of work on this to make sure it's going to be a successful event, and for focusing our attention in the main now on bookending, if you like, the event from Thursday, the 2nd June through to, and then the Sunday, 5th of June. We spent some time prior to this kind of trying to see if there was appetite, if you like, in the local community on the Fridays and Saturdays. And whilst there is some, and we're striving still to kind of generate and garner more interest, if you like, so that we can have some exciting events on the Friday and Saturday as well, largely led by the communities. In front of yourselves, and apologies for doing it in this manner, there'll be a hard copy you may see of the anticipated the draft schedule, if you like, that we've pulled together for Thursday and Sunday. On the Thursday, I would suggest well on the way in terms of choreographing that particular opening ceremony, both in terms of the gas beacon that has been procured, hasn't arrived yet, but I'm assured it's coming very soon, and engaging actually with lots of individuals and groups there to make the event a resounding success. We've pulled quite a lot of information from national guidance for the event as well, and it's kind of, we've grafted it into the schedule here in terms of music, that the appropriate music that needs to be played at the correct time, regardless of where we are on the planet. Essentially for this event, it all has to be done at the same kind of timelines here. On the Sunday, there's still work very much in progress, in earnest, and in fact, our new place shaping manager tomorrow afternoon will be walking around the town centre and beyond, in fact, going and approaching local businesses to see what kind of interest we can garner from those individual from businesses, both for the Thursday and for the Sunday as well. For the rest of this week, actually, we've got meetings organised with various contractors for things like stages, lighting, PA systems, and indeed acts or entertainment as well, which we're looking to bring in, certainly for the Sunday and also the Sunday, which will go on for several hours. We're anticipating here. I'll pause there.
Other questions, or would you like to say anything, Councillor Knight?
Thanks. Maybe I could just add a few extra points in. So yes, the Mayor, Councillor Fager and myself are meeting with officers on a weekly basis to progress this. As you say, I think Thursday plans are going well. In terms of where the beacon's going to go, the plan is for that to go where the Christmas tree goes normally, so outside Surfin, so really a focal point in the town square. And I think the only other thing to mention is also looking at how to decorate the square in an appropriate manner, so looking at the procurement and use of bunting around the square as well. That was all I had to add. Thank you.
Councillor Fage.
If I might just add to that, I think the only one thing that has been that hasn't been mentioned yet is the Thursday event will probably be a smaller scale event, probably trying to interact with a few local pubs in particular, a few different bands on in a few different pubs, and then a small stage in the town centre for people to congregate as and when the beacon goes on. understand that staff are engaging with publicans over that, so that's all in hand. The Sunday event would be akin to some of those that we've seen in the past, with sort of taking over the town centre and sort of various acts throughout the day. A much longer event, and in line with some of the national guidance around sort of street parties being on the Sunday. That would be sort of a street party, but in our town centre.
Any questions from anybody or anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Strawn?
Yes, what is being done to publicise what we as a town council are doing? Because I know lots of people in the community are wondering what we're doing and they would like to know sooner rather than later. And whilst I appreciate that we may not have the specific programme in place at the moment, I think it would be helpful if we could put something on our website and publicise it generally so that people know that the town is doing, the council's doing something on the Thursday and the Sunday, and then there will be people who might want to do street parties on the Friday and the Saturday. And if there's anything we can help to enable them to do that or point them in the right direction as to who they should be contacting if they want to do street parties, such as at Central Beds Council or as appropriate. But I think the public are actually quite interested from what I was hearing at a meeting last night. So if we could publicise what we're doing sooner rather than later, obviously it'll be updated, but just setting out the principles so that people can then make their own plans.
I think that's noted. I think we're not quite at that stage yet, are we, Councillor Knight?
Thank you. I think that's exactly correct. So yes, we need to think about starting to promote this over the next couple of weeks, I think.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the Central Beneficiary Consultation on changes to the library. The sheet in the papers gives a link to the detailed papers, but gives an idea of what they want to do. Do we have any comments? Do we wish to make any sort of response formally as a town council? Councillor Fage?
Well, I'd like to propose that we formally respond in support of these changes. I think on balance, there are a lot of libraries in the country which over the last few years other councils have been unable to sustain, which has sadly led to their closure. And if a certain amount of repurposing in order to get them fit for modern day demand, if you like, with perhaps a bit more computers or running other services out of that building as well, that to me seems like a very almost commercial decision, and a sensible one at that, to make sure that these libraries can sustain themselves. We're only losing 5 square metres of actual book space, so that to me seems like a price worth paying to secure £700,000 worth of investment. So I'd like to propose that we write in support of these changes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Right, Councillor Pullinger.
Thank you. So yeah, as I say, I would second this, and I think that 5 square metres is 1% of the total library floor space, and I think what I'm particularly pleased about is that they appear to have thought about what the right usage of the space is in terms of the library. It's not just converting the areas that they want to repurpose to something else. They've also considered how best to use the library space. So 58%, I think it is, of the usage of the library is the children's library, and so they're expanding the children's library area. They're reducing the amount of non-fiction in light of the fact that people more and more use online resources for research and things like that. So I think they have considered that quite well. And I think when we think about the Children's Centre, I think that's a vital service for the community and for those families that utilise that service, and having a permanent home for that is only a good thing. And again, we've lost the registry office. We can complain about the fact that we've lost it as much as we like, but actually getting something back as a registry office, having lost it, is again only a good thing. So I fully support Councillor Fage in that we should support this. I am aware that there has been some comments online in relation to what does this mean for the London Road site, and I appreciate that's not part of this. But what I would like us potentially to consider at some point in the future is how could we as a council proactively engage with Central Bedfordshire around the use of that London Road site, to make sure that we can try and influence how they might use that site in the future.
Yes, we are supposed to be having place shaping talks with them, which would include that. Anybody else? So we have a proposal on the table to write in support of the proposals that Central Beds have made for the library. All those in favour of that? Okay, and against? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay. The next item is the circulation from the National Association via BATPC, a general briefing on the Ukraine, and also the CVS Community Voluntary Service Funding Fair. Any comments, please? Yeah, I think it is for noting rather than, okay, thank you very much. And then the station interchange consultation. This is for the traffic regulation orders to implement the transport interchange at the station. Do we have any comments, please? Councillor Fage?
Well, look, we've raised concerns in the past over the location of this zebra crossing. And the loss of parking that's associated with that. The zebra crossing is not on the desire line, it's not where people cross the road. I don't see it being in a location that's going to be used particularly well. So, I mean, if we make any comment, I think it should be to reiterate what we said in the past about that zebra crossing being located in the wrong place. Would rather not see one than see one put in on part of Station Road where it's not going to be used and just disrupt parking. Other than that, it seems, I don't think there's anything here that is particularly surprising. I'm sure the highways engineers know what they're doing with the chicane parking. I don't, but then I'm not a highways engineer, so I bow to their qualifications on those. So I think we could be comfortable with Station Road, but I think we should object to the location of this zebra crossing.
I agree with you from the chair on that, actually. So I think your proposal is that we say that we don't really see the need for a zebra crossing, but if there should be a zebra crossing, it should be on the south side of Saffron Road rather than the north side. So do I have a seconder for that? Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment or bring any other issues up? No? So, sorry, go on.
Confirm, and the reason for that is because we are partly concerned about, it's not on the desire line, and we're concerned about the loss of parking on Station Road.
Thank you. So all those in favour of that proposal, please. Against? Abstentions? Okay, that's one abstention. Otherwise unanimous. Right, I'm on to planning applications. And the first one is Foxglove Drive, Conservatory to the north, existing one to be removed.
No, move it subject to neighbours.
Are we all happy with that? Yeah. 31 Maunder Avenue, single storey rear extension.
Subject to neighbours.
Thank you. Are we all happy? Shout if you're not. So the next one is a planning appeal. And I think we're all quite pleased that 33 Shortmead Street appeal was dismissed. So I think we note that, if that's all right. And I think the same with the next item, 41 Shortmead Street. This has kept coming back as well. And I think we're all pleased that it's been dismissed. So note it. Thank you. And a third one for 48 to 52 Lawrence Road, again, which we objected to. So that's good that it's been dismissed. So I'm assuming we can note that. Yes, okay.
Just a point of information on that, Madam Mayor. Might it not be appropriate for these dismissed appeals just to be in items for information rather than consideration as planning applications in the future?
I did actually ask for that, but we'll do it next time. Item F, Unit F1 Stratton Business Park, electric vehicle charging stations. Any comments, please?
Move it subject to neighbours.
Are we all happy? Yeah, thanks.
Biddle don't object.
I don't think our guests from a couple of meetings ago would be very happy if we objected to that one. 6 Jemmick Grove, single story rear and side extension.
Opposed, subject to neighbours.
Thank you. Okay, so then we have a supplementary agenda, if I can find it. And we have, it's all right, we have 29 Osprey Road, erection of a 1 metre and 1.7 metre fencing. It's retrospective, but last time we said no objection.
No objection.
Okay, are we all happy with no objection? Thank you.
Should we put in subject to neighbours, just in case the neighbour doesn't like the fence?
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we can.
Harm.
On to 14 Mersey Road, single story extension and garage conversion. Councillor Fage?
Yeah, I think this is all right, actually. I know we're always very careful when we see garage conversions around, particularly King's Reach Estate, because we know there's the estate was not built with enough parking. So normally a garage is a loss of a parking space, but this is not being converted into a bedroom or anything like that. And it is a garage which is behind 2 parking spaces, if you like. You have to park 2 cars in front of each other and then 1 more in the garage. Like, the idea that anybody uses that to park a car, I think is highly unlikely. So I've just proposed no objection, subject to neighbours.
Are we all happy with that? Okay. And then the next item we actually dealt with at the last meeting, and it's within the minutes. So I think we can move on from that, if that's all right with everybody. And so I move on to items for information. And we've received more information by email about the Engagement Festival, which is this coming Friday and Saturday. Is there anything anybody wishes to say? Councillor Fage?
So they do have a questionnaire out, and whilst we might want to respond as individuals, I guess my query is, do we want to provide any information I'm not saying we have to provide a position as a council on which route we prefer at this point, because there's probably not enough information there. But I guess I'm not going to say it concerned me slightly, but there is some analysis on the website of sort of the strengths and weaknesses of each of the 4 routes. And my personal view is that a few things have been missed off, particularly from the weaknesses of some of the routes, for example. So, I mean, I've jotted a few things down, and if others will bear with me. So, for example, I suspect one weakness of using the bulk for east-west connectivity is that you can only go along it from west to east. It's a one-way road, and that's not mentioned on the website. So I just feel as though we need to provide that representation. Equally, along Hitchmead Road, that it's not very wide, and actually an optimal solution for Biggleswade, if that route is chosen, is probably to use the grass, find a way of using the grass verge near Stratton School Field, potentially acquiring some land. You know, if we're ambitious for Biggleswade, that's what we should be arguing for. Similarly, I'm still sort of on the option 1 route here, which is the bulk Hitchmead Road and Maunder Avenue, but Maunder Avenue has no footpath. It has no footpath, it's a road. There are some grass verges along it, but if you want to walk along Maunder Avenue, be careful because cars will come along exactly the same part of it. So I think we need to make those 3 representations. The other one that I think we should flag up as well on option 3, which is London Road and then along Eagle Farm Road, is that notorious junction of London Road, Eagle Farm Road, Drove Road, which we know is very dangerous. Probably the most dangerous junction in Biggleswade, actually. So any sustainable transport corridor that uses that junction, I mean, we would need to see some considerable changes to that junction. It's not safe in a car, it's not safe for pedestrians, it's certainly not safe for cyclists or scooters. Equally, for that route to be optimal, I think some of the vegetation along the, south side of what was Stratton School Farm, in order to make that bridle way wide enough for the kind of vehicles they're talking about, I think we need to flag that up as well. And then finally, the London Road Chambers Way junction, the London Road Chambers Way option, there's a dangerous junction there, which, if I were coming from east to west and turning right out of Chambers Way to go to the town centre, I wouldn't fancy my chances on a bike. So I just think we need to make those points simply because I think they should be included in some of the consultation documents, or at least in part of the questionnaire, because they are constraints and challenges which have been missed in my view. I don't think we need to come to a view tonight on which one is best, but I think we should provide those representations personally.
I think you're right that until after this week's event, we shouldn't really as a council decide our preferred route, but I think it should be on the next agenda for us to say so. But I think Councillor Fage has raised some good points, and I think it would be right to ask officers to contact the people who are running the consultation and ask them to add those weaknesses for Friday and Saturday. Would people be happy with that? Yeah. So I've got a note of them, and I'm sure minute taker has. So if we could write and just say we think those weaknesses should be added.
If I might just add, I'm sorry, not telling anybody how to suck eggs or anything, but just in the spirit of wanting to collaborate on this as a town council, yes, we're raising some weaknesses now, but that's only so that we can come to an informed view, because there are a lot of strengths and a lot of merits to trying to work together to build a sustainable, at least one sustainable transport corridor, maybe a sustainable transport loop or something like that. I don't know, but I think we just need to be constructive in the way we go about this and say that there are strengths to them as well. We look forward to the discussion.
I think you've used an interesting word there with loop, because we were told when we had the presentation last time that only one of the routes would be chosen, but it may well be, for safety's sake, that it ought to be out one way and back a different way. And that, that's something we may want to think about when we do our formal response from the town council. And perhaps when you get in touch with them, you could say that we wish to do a formal response as a town council at the next meeting, so that they know it's coming in. I don't know what their deadline is, but they'll get a response from us at the first meeting in April. Okay, so I'm now on public open session 2, and this time it can be on any item that a member of the public wants to raise that's a concern of the town council. So do we have anybody who wishes to speak? Miss Bailey again. I think we can probably hear you properly this time.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Hello, obviously sorry about before. This is my first time. I just had a couple of questions. Firstly, as I said, Dr. Whitaker posted a piece on Facebook recently stating that there were some upgrades, chamber upgrades taking place for £25,000. This included a sound system. I was wondering if you could expound on this, and also just elaborate a little bit more on the reasoning for the increase in council tax, when obviously I know it's gone up by 7.5%, and I know many of you wanted it to go up by 9-point-something%, which really was quite frightening to hear. Obviously, the cost of living is currently sky high. People are struggling. So I just wondered why so high, why so much? Why not delay this for a year let people get their lives together a little bit. You know, COVID's still very much a thing. I'm a teacher. We've got about 20, well, we've got over 20 members of staff off. You know, we're all struggling at the moment just to sort of, you know, loads of people are having sick leave and things. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was my question. Questions, plural.
Okay. Your first question was about possible improvements to the sound system. We're working on it all the time. We're trying to be as transparent as possible as a council, which means that we do live stream these meetings to YouTube. But we have some very old equipment here that we inherited from the old Mid-Beds District Council, and we've been trying to add equipment to it. We hope not to spend that sum of money, but we may need to. And the other issue is that the acoustics in this council chamber are very bad. So we may not use that money at all, but we've budgeted for it in case, so that we can make our meetings as open to everybody as possible. And you ask about the increase in council tax, and I can't remember all of the figures off the top of my head, but the percentage is misleading, because if you look at how much that is per bandy property for a week, and I think our finance manager can come to the table and just speak, please. She'll say exactly what that is, but it's actually not that large an increase. And whereas I take your point about everybody's struggling, the town council's costs have gone up as well. And of course, we are facing the national insurance increase that's been imposed by the government. So we've got a lot on our plates as well, and everybody is trying to balance things as best they can. Ms. Solomon, would you like to just say what the figures are for me, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 7.5 increase of the council tax in a bandy council tax band for Biggleswade is equating to £12.64 per annum for 54 weeks.
So £12.64?
£12.64.
So that's £12.64 per annum. And what's that per week? Do you have the figure?
Per week, I think the figure is 34 pence.
34 pence a week?
A week, yeah.
Yes. So it's not a huge sum. So I think we've answered your question, Ms. Bailey, there. Our costs have been going up. We are facing increased costs. This is not actually a large sum of money. It's a large percentage, because our overall precept, the amount we raise in council tax, is only 1.4 million. And that doesn't go very far in a town the size of Biggleswade. Councillor Fage.
I was going to add one point, which is that this is coupled with efficiency savings to the tune of £25,000. So looking at every single budget line and checking that we're spending money in the right places. And we will find £25,000 this year, at least. So it would have been higher. It would have been the easiest thing in the world just to say, oh, put the precepts up by even more, don't worry about how much we're spending. But we're being very scrupulous in terms of where every single pound goes. And that is a resolution of council this year. So that will be delivered.
Thank you. I see Dr. Whitaker's got her hand up as well. Would you like to come in? I think she's decided not to speak.
Sorry, just having to unmute myself. It comes in a bit later. So I heard you talking about the Adopt a Street programme earlier, and that it hadn't moved on. And actually it has moved on somewhat, in that I know other ward councillors have offered up to £1,000 each to support the Adopt a Street programme, and that we were under the impression through CBC that the town council would be happy to help administer those funds. Unfortunately, I heard from the Adopt a Street group today that actually the town council said that they're not prepared to help administer those funds, which means we might not actually be able to give that approximately £2,000 to that group. I think it'd be really important for you to think about that, and whether or not you can change your minds on that, because if you really want to support this programme, that's a lot of money for them not to be able to access to really get this programme off the ground. So I'd really ask you to reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The town council is happy to support Madam Susanna Rice. And the only problem is because the money is coming from CBC and it's for the financial year 21-22, if it's coming through our books, then we will control how, not what we control, but we have to manage how that money is spent. So we've made the decision to contact Suzanne and tell her this is the process. So if she's gone on the website and filled the forms for the collection of this grant as an individual who is managing Adopt the Street project. But if she wants that money to come through our banks to be compliant with our finance regulations, we need to manage that money for her and decide the expenditure and everything that is being managed, because it's coming through Biggleswade bank account to be more transparent, which Madam Susan doesn't have the facilities to administer now in order to access that money in this financial year, not the next financial year, this financial year.
I'm not sure I understood all that. Go on, Councillor Knight.
I'm not sure members have necessarily had all the information relating to this, and maybe officers have been dealing with it. Would it be possible to put this on the agenda for the next meeting, please?
Well, it would, but what's being said so far, to answer Councillor Whitaker, is that there are issues of technicalities if the money is coming into our bank account and it has to adhere to our financial regulations. But we haven't said no, we're trying to talk to Central Beds to sort it out. So the information that we've said no is wrong. We have to sort out how to manage it and how to work with Susanna or Suzanne, who has headed up this initiative. So I hope that answers your question.
No, excuse me, Madam Mayor, it doesn't answer my question, because I've seen the email and Karim did say no, but also that the issue is that this has to be dealt with before the end of this financial year. So putting it on the agenda for the next meeting is too late, unfortunately.
I've already said we're still looking at it. Mr. Hosseini.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Mayor. So in response to this question, yeah, absolutely. I will be contacting the lady in question, as in Susanna, tomorrow and discussing this through in terms of how best we can incorporate the application so it goes through in a timely fashion in a matter of days, in fact, given that we're so close to the financial year end. And once that's done, we will work through the best way of doing this in a transparent fashion, which complies with our own financial regulations and ticks all the necessary boxes. And additionally, I'd like to add that we are absolutely working operationally with Susanna and colleagues as well to the best effect, as I mentioned earlier, so we can deliver something that we're all proud of here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands up, so I'm moving on. So we now need to move that it's advisable in the public interest that public and press are excluded while we discuss some exempt items.